Yeah, in times. At the end of the day, for real, if you a man of the Most High specifically, guard your light, guard your family, protect your peace. I feel like it's that season, yeah. Till your ground and put your seeds in. They say rock, what's the word? I told them repent. Gotta walk in them shoes you put your feet in. The bed that you make, you gotta sleep in. Sowing and reaping, judgment, it's that season. I don't get mad and I don't get even. Abba got 'em, say shalom when you see me. I'm protecting my peace. It ain't my business what they said about me. They forgot to mention the part when I fell to my knees. Please, Abba, keep your angels wherever I be. Pray you keep a couple of them by the bed when I sleep. Bonded, casting out every devil I see. Last days, I ain't playing no kind of games. I got children. Look, no matter what they say, we gon' still win. Let them gossip, we gon' still win. Turn everybody against us, we gon' still win. Keep building like real men. Imagine all the souls we gon' reel in. And we put scriptures over feelings. Yeah. Had to do a pause for that. I feel like it's that season. Yeah. Till your ground and put your seeds in. If we can't correct each other, we can't be friends. I can't sit back and watch you go off the deep end. Sky is the limit, you got no ceiling. We gon' take it through the firmament. You got baptized, them demons was on your head when they got word of it. When you get wings, it's gonna be turbulence. Temptation intensified, it's expected. We at the end of time, they don't wanna see you score. They want you penalized, want you out the game, see you ride the bench. When it's crunch time, it ain't hard to see who the father with. This season, we not man pleasing. Practice what you preaching, don't pretend. For real, we gotta give them the facts. Look, that sound good, but what scripture was that? Paganism in our worship, hidden in the details. Saturnalia, Abba gave me eyes, I can see well. We stiff-necked, we don't want correction, we shun correction. On the narrow path is only one direction. Yeah, we stiff-necked, we don't want correction, we shun correction. Yeah, it's only one direction. It's that season.
All right. Peace and shalom, family. This is Brother Ibar from the True One God of Israel. And we're back at you with our Shabbat lesson. With me I have my two brothers in Christ. Heal up the people and brothers.
Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. Looking forward to this one. Peace and blessings.
Shabbat Shalom, Israel. Stay tuned. It's an interested one.
All right. I'll share my screen. Right, so we have a very important lesson today, right? As you know, from weeks, we have been going into a very important topic, the kingdom of heaven, the time of the Gentile. What we're in now, we're in the Grecian Empire. There's a mistake here. Let me change this. Give me a minute. Okay. Right, so we changed that. So the kingdom of heaven, the time of the Gentile, part 1. The reason why we label this part 1 is because the Grecian Empire holds a lot of information, right? So we can't just bring it in one lesson. We have to bring it in. We're going to bring it in 2 lessons, right? So this is part 1 of the Grecian Empire. Last week we wasn't here because we didn't want to put out false information. So we make sure we take some time, go into this and look over it properly. Okay. I have been in studies where information has been put out on the Grecian Empire, and you get like 1 or 2 pages of information, sometimes even half. But when we sit down and we go into the study of the Grecian Empire, is way more vast than that. So we want to make sure, you know, we put information together properly, that when we present it, it can be, you know, edifying to whoever watch this video. All right. All right. So as you see right here, there was an image in Daniel 2. Daniel have a vision, and not Daniel, but Nebuchadnezzar have a vision. And an image was present to him. He called Daniel to interpret it, which we explained in our last 2 videos. So Greece would actually fall, and the image right here, the tie of bronze. So that's Greece right there. So the tie right here of bronze represents the Grecian Empire. Okay. All right. So what we're going to look into, we're going to look into the rise to power of the Grecian Empire. How did they come to power, right? Who they actually take down to come to power, all right? Let's get Daniel 2:36 to 39 up.
The book of Daniel, chapter 2 and verse 36. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof.
Right, so Daniel is saying to the king, this is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Read.
Thou, O king, art a king of kings.
Right.
For the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory.
Go on.
And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven had he given into thine hand. And
right, so Daniel is telling Nebuchadnezzar, right, that you are kings of kings. The God of heaven had given you a kingdom, power, strength, and glory. So you are ruler of the earth from a carnal perspective. Read.
And hath made thee ruler over them all.
Go on.
Thou art this head of gold.
So Nebuchadnezzar is the head of gold on the image right here. The image is separated up in how many parts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts. The head of gold represents Nebuchadnezzar or the Babylonian Empire. Read on up.
Verse 40, verse 39. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee,
which is what you call the Persian Empire. So the Persian Empire is inferior to the Babylonian Empire. Read.
And another third kingdom of brass.
And another what?
Third kingdom of brass.
So this represents the Grecian Empire, like we show you on the image. Here's the image. The brass area, which is the tie area right there, represents the Grecian Empire. Okay? So if you're looking at the screen right now, it's been highlighted in red right here. And another third kingdom of brass. The Grecian Empire. Read.
Which shall be a rule over all the earth.
So every empire that we read about on the image, right? All empires that we read about on this image right here, they are rulers over all the earth during their time. The Most High have given them power to rule the earth at their time. That's why it says, we shall be a rule over all the earth. So when Babylon rule, they have dominion over all the earth. When Medo-Persia rule, they have dominion over all the earth. When Greece rule, they have dominion over all the earth. And we are looking into the Grecian Empire today. Okay? All right. The leopard with the 4 wings and the 4 heads. Get Daniel 7 and 6.
The book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard.
Like a what?
Like a leopard.
So this leopard represents the Grecian Empire, right? And why does it say leopard? Because it's giving you the characteristic of how the leopard operates. Very swift. The level of aggression. Read.
Which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl.
Right, 4 wings of a fowl. So you know a fowl carry 2 wings. So if there's more than 2 wings, then it's deal with how they would actually carry out their conquest, how fast they were able to move a little bit faster. Read.
The beast had also 4 heads.
So if the beasts have 4 heads, it simply means it's being divided. Heads represent rulership. Now, anywhere you have 4 heads, it's always problematic. You can't have 4 heads in an empire. So if there are 4 heads, they are divided. A lot of problem and fighting against each other. Okay? So 4 heads, that's problem for the Grecian Empire. Read.
And dominion was given to it.
And dominion, rulership was given to it. Nevertheless, it have 4 heads. Okay? Get First Maccabees 1 to 4.
First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim.
Right, read that again.
And it happened after that Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian.
So Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian. Okay? Read.
Who came out of the land of Kittim, had smitten Darius, the king of the Persians and Medes.
So Alexander, the Greek, smitten Darius of the Medo-Persian, the leader of the Persian, Darius. Read.
That he reigned in his stead the first over Greece.
That he reigned in his stead. If someone reign in your stead, they are in your position. So Alexander, the Greek, take down the Medo-Persian Empire and took control. Because the Medo-Persian Empire was the empire, the ruling empire at that time. So Alexander, the Greek, right, represents the Grecian Empire who took down the Medo-Persian Empire and took control of the earth. Read.
And made many wars and won many strongholds.
Exactly. And it says in verse 1, the first over Greece. Okay, so he was the first one over Greece to actually go out, right, and took down empire and become a world power. Okay, and made many wars. So he was on a voyage, right, to control the earth. Read.
and made many wars and won many strongholds.
Exactly.
And
He won
slew
many strongholds, mean he took strong areas, strong countries. Read.
and slew the kings of the earth.
Right. So he was basically going out and killing all the kings of the earth because they are the new empire on the scene at that time. Read.
And went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations.
Go on.
Insomuch that the earth was quiet before him.
The earth was quiet before him. There was none to stand before him. Right? And when you read this, if you understand what is going on, the Bible says the Most High rule in the kingdom of men. So at that time, the Most High give him rulership of all the earth. No one could have stand before him. Just like every empire. The Most High play a part in them. Read.
Whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up.
So now, because he's conquering the whole earth, he's slewing king, he now believe that, okay, this is of my own will, this is of my power. So his heart was lifted up. Read.
And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him.
Right. So all the world was paying him taxes. Get Daniel 8. Verses 3 to 7.
Daniel 8 and verse 3. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns.
Right. So the ram which have 2 horns represents the Medo-Persian Empire. Okay. We explain the horns in the Medo-Persian Empire's lesson. The 2 horns represents Medes and one represents Persia. One empire, but it's really 2. It's divided in 2. Okay, read.
And the 2 horns were high.
So the 2 horns were high represent they were strong at that time. They too were lifted up with pride. Okay? They be a rule over all the earth. Read.
But one was higher than the other.
Meaning Persia was greater than the Medes. Read.
And the higher came up last.
Which mean Medes rise first, Persia come after. Read.
I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward.
So the Medo-Persia Empire was pushing westward, northward, southward, which means they are going about to conquering lands. Read.
So that no beast might stand before him.
Now the beast represents empire. No empire could have stand before them. They were the powerhouse at that time. Read.
Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand.
So when they took control of your territory, there was nobody that could drive them away. Read.
But he did according to his will and became great.
Exactly. Read on.
And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth.
So this he-goat right here represents the Grecian Empire. So while the Medo-Persian Empire was pushing westward, northward, and southward, here comes the Grecian Empire. From the where? The west. Read.
And touched not the ground.
It was so swift. Daniel saw it in the vision. Bear in mind, they have 4 wings. So they were moving so swift. It was so, they were conquering territory so fast. Read.
And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes.
So the Grecian Empire have someone among them that was very notable, someone we should pay attention to, which is Alexander the Greek. His tactics was very good. He was a man of war. Read.
And he came to the ram that had two horns.
And he came to the Medo-Persian Empire. Go on.
Which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power.
Right. So the Grecian Empire run up on the Medo-Persian Empire. Right. Read.
And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with color against him.
Which is anger. Kolo mean anger. Read.
And smote the ram and brake his two horns.
Right. So the Medo-Persian Empire is over. The two horn is broken, mean your power, your strength is gone. Go on.
And there was no power in the ram to stand before him.
Exactly. Read.
But he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
So this is how the Grecian Empire comes to power, by taking down the powerhouse at that time. We hear many stories about, people going to jail and so forth. And, when they go to jail, the strong man there, you must take him down if you want to conquer his territory. So this is how the Grecian Empire come to power under Alexander the Greek, destroying the Medo-Persian Empire because they were the powerhouse at that time. Okay, so symbolism of the Grecian Empire. There are certain things we should understand about the Grecian Empire, okay? Get Daniel 8, verses 8 to 12.
Daniel 8, verse 8.
You're going to read verse 8. What you're going to do? You're going to read verse 8, and then I think you can jump to verse 21, because we'll break it up in segment and explain it. So we're reading Daniel 8, verse 8 to 12, but we are breaking it down verse by verse, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Daniel 8, verse 8. Therefore, the he-goat waxed very great.
So therefore, I'm actually going back right here. Daniel 8, verses 7. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with color against him, and smote the ram, and brake his two horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Speaking about the Grecian Empire taking down the Medo-Persian Empire. So fast forward, because guess what we're actually doing, right? Precept upon precept, line upon line. That's how you get understanding from the Bible. So we jump to verse 8 right here. Read that again now.
Daniel 8, verse 8. Therefore, the he-goat waxed very great.
So therefore, the Grecian Empire waxed very great, becomes so powerful after taking down the Medo-Persian Empire, because they were the ruler of that time. Read.
And when he was strong,
so when he became this mighty powerhouse, what happened?
The great horn was broken.
The great horn was broken. The great horn represents Alexandra. Alexandra died when the Grecian Empire rose to power. They become so great, but their leader died. Okay, read.
And for it came up four notable ones.
And for it came up four notable ones, right? So these four notable ones that actually came up, conclude that part, conclude the reading right here.
Toward the four winds of heaven.
So you have four general. The 4 horns that came up represents the 4 general of Alexander the Greek. Okay? Which, here's their name. We have Ptolemy, we have Seleucus, we have Lysimachus, and we have Cassander, right? We have, when we look at how it's been listed here, we have Antigonus. He was one of the general under Alexander the Greek. But he later on was killed by Cassander in the battle of Ipsos, right? So we put him right here just for reference. So what we're supposed to have right here, where you see Cassander, is Antigonus. But we list him right here down the bottom just so you can understand what happened. Okay? Cassander was the bodyguard of Alexander the Greek. Antigonus was the one who was supposed to succeed Alexander the Greek, right? But because the kingdom is so divided, they were fighting against each other. So Cassander killed Antigonus at the battle of Ipsos and took control. Hence, we didn't put his name up here. We just put Cassander because he was the one that was going through the 4 corners of the earth to conquer the earth. Okay? Jump on to verse 21.
Verse 21. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia.
So here the Bible is giving you explanation. So when we read Daniel 8 verse 8, therefore the he-goat walks very strong. Read that again, Ak.
And the rough goat is the king of Grecia.
Right, so it's the Bible is explaining everything. Who is this goat? Is the king of Grecia, which is Alexander the Greek. Read.
And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
Right. So the goat represents Greece. The horn between his eye represents the king, which is Alexander the Greek. Okay? Read.
Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it.
So the explanation of Daniel 8 verse 8 we say, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken. Here's the explanation. Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, here's the meaning. Read.
4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation.
You're going to have 4 separate kingdoms came out of the Grecian Empire. Like I said, the 4 head mean that they were divided. One country, when they go out under Alexander the Greek to fight, but once he died, them separate into 4 different empires, which is Ptolemy, Seleucus, Lysimachus, and Cassander. Okay, read.
4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation.
Exactly, go on.
But not in his power.
But not in his power mean they didn't stand up in the name of Alexander the Greek. They basically took on their own empire and do their own thing. Okay? Read First Maccabees 1:9. Just to give clarity to, but not in his power.
First Maccabees 1 verse 9. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves.
They all what?
Put crowns upon themselves.
So they basically start to do their own thing. They became rulers of their own will. Okay? All right.
I think I can read verse 8.
Verse
says,
what?
First Maccabees 1 verse 8. It says that, and his servants they rule everyone in his place.
Exactly. Okay, so Daniel 8 verses 9.
Daniel 8 verse 9. And out of one of them came forth a little horn.
Right. So out of it says, and out of one of them came forth a little horn. So when it says out of them, out of one of them, it's speaking about the four general that you see we have listed here. Ptolemy, Seleucus, Lysimachus, and Cassander. So out of one of them, right, came forth a little horn. Read.
Which waxed exceeding great toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land.
Right. So when it says toward the pleasant land represents Jerusalem. Right? That little one, we will let the Bible explain it. Okay? Get Maccabees, First Maccabees 1 and 10.
Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus surnamed Epiphanes.
Exactly. Right? So out of one of them, which is who? The Seleucid Empire. So out of the Seleucid Empire came forth a man surnamed Antiochus Epiphanes. So his name is Antiochus and his surname himself Epiphanes, which means what? We will get the understanding of that also. Read.
Son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of Greeks.
Okay, so we have some excerpts right here. It's, out of the Seleucid Empire came Antiochus Epiphanes. He surnamed himself Epiphanes, meaning God manifest. That's what Epiphanes means. God manifest. He literally named himself that. He was so lifted up in his heart that he named himself God manifest.
And God indeed did manifest.
All right, get Daniel 8 and 10.
Daniel 8 and verse 10. And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven.
So Antiochus Epiphanes, right, waxed great even to the host of heaven. I highlighted host of heaven because we're going to break down what that means. Right? Go on.
And it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them.
Okay. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and cast down some of the host and of the star to the ground, and stamp upon them. We're going to explain all of that. Right? Line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. Get First Maccabees 1, verses 24.
First Maccabees 1:24. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre, and spoken very proudly.
Read it again.
And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre,
right,
and spoken very proudly.
Exactly. So he speak very proudly when he took God's people. So even to the host of heaven represents the nation of Israel. Hence, right, the title of the lesson is what? The kingdom of heaven / the time of the Gentile. The host of heaven is the nation of Israel. The word host represents army. So the army of heaven, right, that will be a rule upon earth is God's people, the nation of Israel. So once he took the nation of Israel, right, and carried them away and do all manner of evil, he speak proudly in his heart, knowing, say, okay, these are God's people. Okay? Get Maccabees 1 and 30. Jump down to 30.
And spake peaceable words unto them.
So once he come to the nation of Israel, he speak peaceable words unto them, knowing that we are a very peaceful people. Read.
But all was deceit.
But all was deceit in his heart. Right? Conclude verse 30.
For when they had given him credence, he fell.
When they give him, yeah, once they actually stood and listened to him, right? What did he do?
He fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Israel.
Much people of who?
Of Israel.
So when it says, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars of heaven, represents the murder, the level of atrocities that was carried out upon Israel by him, and stamp upon them. That's what it means. Okay, jump to verse 37.
Verse 37. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it.
Exactly. So he stamped upon them, he cast them down to the earth. Right? Read that again.
Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it.
And defiled the sanctuary. Read.
In so much that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them.
Exactly. Jump to Maccabees. First Maccabees 2 and 38.
Maccabees 2 verse 38. So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath.
And when?
On the Sabbath.
Right. So they understood, right, how Israel function, knowing that we are a Sabbath keeper. So they attacked them on the Sabbath. Read.
And they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people.
Right. So what this is actually saying in Daniel 8 verses 10, right? And it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground and stamp upon them. It was the level of atrocities that was carried out upon the nation of Israel. Conclude verse 38.
That's okay. Lose the page. So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people.
Okay. Go to 2 Maccabees 9 and 10 now.
2 Maccabees 9 and verse 10. And the man that thought a little afore he could reach to the stars of heaven, no man could endure to carry for his intolerable stink.
Right. So when he thought in his heart, he was so lifted up that he think that he could even reach to the Most High God himself. That's what happened there. He killed God's people, right? And the level of atrocities that was carried out, he think he could actually reach to the Most High God himself. If I'm killing your people like this, I can also reach you. Read.
Verse 11. Here, therefore, being plagued, he began to leave off his great pride.
Exactly.
To come to the knowledge of himself by the scourge of God, his pain increasing every moment.
Exactly. Go to Daniel 8 and 11 now.
Daniel 8, verse 11. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host. And by him the daily sacrifice was taken away. And the place of his sanctuary was cast down.
Exactly. So we're going to look at the highlighted part right here of Daniel 8 verse 11. Get Daniel 11:36.
Daniel 11 and verse 36. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods.
Exactly.
And
so when you read Daniel 8 verse 11, yea, he magnify himself even to the prince of hosts. He was so lifted up even against the Most High God. Read Daniel 11:36 again and precept it with Daniel 8 and 11. He magnify himself even to the prince of hosts.
And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished.
Exactly.
For that is determined shall be done.
Exactly. So what the Most High said in prophecy must come to pass. A time period was given unto him, right, to deal with Israel on this level and even speak against the Most High God, because Israel go off, so therefore Israel have to go. Israel have to go through, right, this level of pain. Okay, get Leviticus 6 and 13.
Leviticus 6 and verse 13. The fire shall ever be burning upon the altar, it shall never go out.
So the Most High give a command to Moses: the fire shall be ever upon the altar, that shall never go out. Read.
And this is the law of the meat offerings. The sons of Aaron shall offer it before the Lord, before the altar.
Exactly. So when you look at Daniel 8, the middle section, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, right? The fire went out, right? He basically took away the daily sacrifice, or sacrifice that we used to carry out every day. He basically put pig upon the altar. So the temple was no longer fit for religious use. Okay? Get Maccabees, first Maccabees 1 and 39.
Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness.
Or what?
Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness.
So there was no sacrifice being carried out based upon the atrocities that was done to Israel, right? By Antiochus Epiphanes, right? And the place of his worship. It was cast down, like it says in Daniel 8 and 11. The place of the sanctuary was cast down. Read on.
Her feasts were turned into mourning.
Exactly.
Her Sabbaths into a reproach.
Go.
Her honor into contempt.
Her respect into contempt. Disgust, shame. Okay? You conclude 39?
Yeah.
Okay. Jump up to 45.
And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice.
And what?
And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice.
So when you go all the way back to Daniel 8 and 11, the daily sacrifice was taken away. You couldn't carry out sacrifice. You couldn't offer up your meat offering, your drink offering, your atonement of sin. Right? You couldn't do it. And Leviticus 6 and 13. Read that again, so we can see what it says.
Leviticus 6 verse 13. The fire shall ever be burning upon the altar, it shall never go out.
I jump back to First Maccabees 1:45 now and see the contrary.
And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice.
So he stopped those things. He
Just the
stopped
odd
those
act.
things.
Indeed, it Antiochus did seize the fire from burning in the temple. However, the fire itself never go out. Just to add and make it clear to the people, the fire itself never go out. What happened is that they hide the fire. Okay, so just to add that. Continue.
And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days.
Right? Jump up to 1 Maccabees 3 verses 45.
Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness.
As a what?
As a wilderness.
Right. So when it says the place of the sanctuary was cast down, it became a wilderness. No one was passing through. The hedges grew up with bushes and all of that. The temple itself, bush take it over. Read.
There was none of her children that went in and or out.
Exactly.
The sanctuary also was trodden down.
Was what?
Was trodden down.
Okay. The place of the sanctuary was cast down in Daniel 8 and 11. We're giving you the precept. Okay? That's the conclusion of 45.
And the aliens kept the stronghold.
And what?
Aliens kept the stronghold.
Alien, foreigner, kept the stronghold. Right? It was more so used like a military post. People who was not supposed to be there was just there lodging, using it for a garrison, a military spot. Okay? That's the conclusion there, right?
The heathen had their habitation in that place.
The what?
The heathen had their habitation in that place.
Non-Israelite dwelt there. Non-Israelite was there. Go on.
And joy was taken from Jacob, and the pipe with the harp ceased.
Exactly. You don't get no better than that. You don't get no clearer than that. Go to 1 Kings 8 and 13.
1 Kings 8 and verse 13. I have surely built thee an house to dwell in.
I have what?
I have surely built thee an house to dwell in.
So when Solomon, right, become king, the Most High actually have Solomon build a house for the nation of Israel to dwell in. The land, there was a sanctuary for atonement of sin, right? There was a sanctuary so the Most High can dwell among us. But when compared to 1 Maccabees 3 and 45, read that again and compare it with 1 Kings 8 and 13.
I have surely built thee an house to dwell in, a settled place for thee to abide in forever.
For how long?
Forever.
But what happened? We see the heathen according to 1 Maccabees 3 and 45. Read it so the people can understand again, Aki.
1 Maccabees 3 and verse 45. Now Jerusalem laid void as a wilderness. There was none of her children that went in or out. The sanctuary also was trodden down, and aliens kept the stronghold. The heathens had their habitation in that place, And joy was taken from Jacob, and the pipe with the harp ceased.
100%, man. 100%. You don't get no clearer than that. Daniel 8 and 12 now.
Daniel 8 and verse 12. And an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered.
Right. So it says, and a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression. The only way Antiochus Epiphanes, right, could have done this, right, is the reason of transgression. Israel was sinning. Israel was committing sin. That's the only option he has. If Israel was living according to the Most High principle, there's no way he could have done this. Right? And bear in mind, we went through the Babylonian Empire, part in the Babylonian Empire, and part in the Grecian, in the the Medo-Persian Empire. We went back home and built the temple. We go back into the land, we start to keep the Feast of Tabernacle, trumpets, you name it. And we get back to our same old ways. We go right back to our same old ways. And that's why it says, the sacrifice, the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression. The only way this could have happened is by us sinning. Right? And it cast down the truth to the ground. And it practice and prosper. Get first Maccabees 1 and 43.
Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
They what?
Consented to his religion.
They agree with the ways of Antiochus Epiphanes. They agree with him. Right? Now, when God's people start to follow the way of the heathen, do you know what is going to happen? Do you know what is going to happen? Problem is going to come in because we are no longer following our habitation. Read.
And sacrifice unto idols and profane the Sabbath.
And they sacrifice unto idols and profane the Sabbath. When the people who are supposed to bring truth start to follow other ideology, the truth will be cast down to the ground. Because why? The Bible was actually placed in your hand. The direction of God's laws was given to you. So once you start to follow other way of life, right, and leave your worldview that was actually given to you by the Most High, you know what will happen? The truth will be cast down to the ground because you're the people who's been entrusted with this earth. So the truth now start to trampled upon. Read.
Verse 44. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land.
Judah supposed to follow strange laws. Don't follow the custom of Torah. Follow the custom according to Antiochus Epiphanes. We see the same thing happening today, family. Right? Our people now start to follow Sunday worship. They start to follow Christmas. They start to follow Halloween. And anyone who come forth now and start to bring forth Sabbath, Passover, right? First fruits, dedication, you must demonize them because this system is actually set up, right? Thousands of years before me and you exist. It's been set up a long time. So what we are getting now, right, it basically took place under the Grecian Empire. They set up the desolation of abomination, the first one. Read on.
45, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice.
And they did what?
Forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice.
And we just read all of that. We just give you the precept on that. They said, listen, no more burnt offering, no more sacrifices, none of that. No more atonement for Israel's sin. Say no, at this time, it was very grievous for the people who actually trust in the Most High. I want to follow Torah. Read.
And drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and the festival days.
So,
and
the truth basically get cast down to the ground. Go on.
And pollute the sanctuary and holy people. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols.
So now you understand, right? What caused the truth to be cast down to the ground. The holy people was actually corrupt. No longer fit for usage of the Most High word. Letters was sent saying, listen, when you read verse 44, it says, for the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land. The laws was very strange. Truth no longer exists. The Most High word no longer exists. Okay, read on.
And verse 46, and polluted the sanctuary and holy people.
So the holy people, the people of Israel, right, who the Most High give his law, they were polluted, they were corrupted, meaning they no longer accept Torah. Problem in the land. Read on.
Verse 47, and set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
And what?
And sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
So what they used to replace the sanctuary, right, was groves of altar, right? Chapels of idol. And they now start to sacrifice swine flesh in Jerusalem. Right? Read.
That they should also leave their children uncircumcised.
So don't circumcise your child, which was a custom according to Torah. You no longer can do it. Read.
And make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation.
Exactly. Go on.
To the end they might forget the law and change
they might
all the
forget the
ordinances.
what?
To the end that they might forget the law.
The laws of God no longer exist under the Grecian Empire. This is why Daniel 8 verse 12, and it cast down the truth to the ground. And practice, which means they carry out their device or their devices, right? And get victory and prosper. All their plan that they actually put in place, their devices, they accomplish. They get the victory. Read.
To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
And ordinances mean law. A lot of law that we see today actually changed during the time of the Grecian Empire. A lot of things we are seeing today, you don't even know where it come from. You don't know the origin of it. And we're going to show you some of what took place. Right? This is a two-part lesson. We basically have set the stage for the next lesson. so you can understand what happened. Why even today we are seeing so many strange things and don't understand. You have to go back and read the Bible. Okay? Read on.
Verse 50. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said should die.
He said should die. So if you don't follow the strange laws that I implement, kill them. And you know what start to happen now? People with the truth now start to speak lies in fear of their life. Hence Daniel 8 verse 12, and it casts the truth to the ground and practice and prosper. So now that people should die for speaking the truth, you know what happened? People with truth hold their mouth. People no longer speak anymore because it means your life. Read on.
Verse 51. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city.
Exactly. So wheresoever, right, the children of men dwell, dominion was given to him. Hence he write letters. So we're talking about under his domain, because he didn't have domain over all territory. His own Grecian fellows was against him also. So wheresoever he has dominion, right, and he did have dominion over Judah. Right? Read.
Verse 52. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, every one that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land.
Exactly. So when you read verse 52, you say, then many of the people were gathered unto him. To wit, the word wit means to know, right? To know everyone that forsook the law. So he gathered people just to find out who don't want to carry out the laws that he implement, the strange laws. Okay? Everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evil in the land. So once you were brought, right, question would have asked, there's certain practice would have carried out. Okay, pork, eat that. You decide you don't want to, death come. Okay? Get First Maccabees 1 and 56.
56. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law, which they found, they burnt them with fire.
You hear what they did? They took the Torah, tear it to pieces, and burnt it. They burned the first 5 books. They burnt it. A lot of people don't even know why today we have so many different contradictions where the Torah is concerned. It was because of things like this. Different kind of names being popped up. You don't know where these things are coming from. You don't know where these things are. You have to sit and analyze the Bible properly and take a look. During the time of Ezra, when they go into Babylon, they did the same thing. Where did Ezra get a copy of Torah from when he was going back into the land? Where did they get it from? A lot of people don't have the answer to these things, you know. Right? Under the Grecian Empire, they burnt the book also. First temple period and second temple period have 2 different practices. This is why when you look at the Medo-Persian Empire, right, and the Babylonian Empire, the men who would have seen the first temple built, when they saw the second temple, right, they cried. it wasn't according to how things was under Solomon. A lot of things change.
You were diminished, man.
A lot of things change. So when a person comes forth and says, okay, the Most High name is this, the Most High name is that, right? We have to understand a lot of things actually change. There was a lot of problem. Even the see we are reading right here. They burnt the books. Read.
Verse 60. At which time, according to the
56, you just read.
Yeah, 56.
Read 56 again.
And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law, which they found, they burnt them with fire.
Continue reading all the way up to 60.
Okay. And wheresoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should be put to death. Thus did they, by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities. Now the 25th and 28th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar.
Upon the what?
Upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God. Time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised.
So here's one woman who actually circumcised her children and they killed her. Read.
Verse 61. And they hung the infants out their necks and rifled their houses and slew them that had circumcised them.
Exactly. Conclude it now. All the way down to 64.
Albeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore they chose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died, and there was very great wrath upon Israel.
So there was very great wrath upon Israel. Hence Daniel 8 and 12, and it cast the truth down to the ground. Right? And it practiced and prosper. So the it represents Antiochus. So it's supposed to be, and he practice and prosper.
You know, one thing to really emphasize right here with regards to our forefathers who didn't bow. No, we are living in a time where there's nobody putting us to death to keep the laws of God. And we will say today in Christendom that the laws cannot be kept, which don't make any sense. So how is it that our forefathers under a situation where capital punishment, and they decided to take death and keep the laws? Nobody is holding a gun over our head, no one, nothing to keep no law. And then say we can't keep the law today. No. What they use against you people is that your love of money. That's one of the main thing they use.
Exactly.
Yeah,
100%, man. 100%, bro. All right, so we have what you call the Hellenistic period. Okay, so a lot of people don't even know when you mention Hellenistic period. Are we talking about, when I says many people are, a lot of people, I'm not speaking about people in the world. I'm speaking about people who profess that they follow Christ and the Most High. They don't even understand what is a Hellenistic period and where a lot of our custom came from. They don't understand these things. Right? You have to understand the customs we have today. Where do they came from? Who actually came up with these things? If it's not according to scripture, right? Then you have to question yourself, where does it come from? It says right here, the 3 centuries of Greek history between the death of the Macedonian king Alexander the Greek in 323 BCE, right? So BCE stands for before Christ exists. So way before Christ company scene. And the rise of Augustus in Rome in 31 BCE, before Christ exists, are collectively known as the Hellenistic period. So from the death, like it mentioned here, it says, between the death of the Macedonian king Alexander the Greek in 323 BCE and the rise of Augustus in Rome in 31 BCE are collectively known as the Hellenistic period. So if when Christ come on the scene, right, Christ was under Rome, but yet the influence of the Greek exists under Rome, that call for a lot of questioning as to what is really going on, because it says BCE, and when Christ come on the scene, Rome was in power, but the practices was of Greek origin. The New Testament itself we have is actually written in Greek.
Yep.
So what is really going on? You will understand that when we get to the Roman Empire, right? So the 3 centuries, right? What are these 3 centuries that we're actually talking about? We're talking about archaic, right, to the end of the 6th century BCE, right? Going up to, then you have what you call classical, from the 5th to the 4th century BC, before Christ. Hellenistic and Greco-Roman, 3rd century BCE onward. Why does it say onward? Because it reached all the way up till now. That's why it says Hellenistic and Greco-Roman, which means Greece and Roman. 3rd century BCE onward, right? So the onward is going all the way up until Christ comes. That's what the onward means. So we are still experiencing Greek literature, Greek custom, right? Everything that you see today is really have to do with what you call empires that already destroyed. So we have to sit down and take a good look as to what is going on. So we have the archaic period, we have the classical period, and we have the Hellenistic period, right? During these periods, Greek ways of life was heavily pushed throughout other cultures, mainly upon the nation of Israel. You black man and black woman, the children of the diaspora, the children of the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, the children of the sub-Sahara slave trade also. During the Hellenistic period, Greek culture, influence, and power reached its peak in the Mediterranean and beyond. Prosperity and progress in the art. So when you look at art today, a lot of your art, do you know where it comes from? Your literature, do you know where it comes from? Theater, architecture, music, mathematics, philosophy, translation, effort. All of these things, we sit down and we take a close look at them and realize, now I understand what is going on. And that's why we encourage people to read. Pay attention. So here we are looking at some art right here. Art of the Hellenistic period. Right? When you take a look at these art, we see them today upon your your major, what would I call, painting. You see them on hotel building. Do you know, like for instance, you go to Palladium, you'll see stuff like this. Do you know what they represent?
A lot
Right?
of these hotels as well have a lot of Roman looking statues and so forth.
Right. When you go to Palladiums and you see some huge statue and you wonder like what these things represent. I understand them once we start to read. Leo Cheris Belvedere, Apollo, right here to your left. Right? Roman copy of 130 to 140 AD. After the Greek bronze, originally of 330 to 320 BC, Vatican Museum. So you can find this in the Vatican Museum right now. You can find this picture right here, this art right here in the Vatican Museum. The part that is very eye-catching, it says Roman copy of. So if we are in the Roman Empire now, why is there a Roman copy of? You get the point, Ak? Why is there a copy? Go ahead.
They say, why is there a copy?
Yes, why is there a copy? It says Roman copy of.
Also, they basically they copy the sculpture and set it up in other areas.
What they are basically doing is pulling from other cultures.
Yeah.
So there's not new underneath the sun. Everything we actually see today is basically pulling from other cultures.
Yeah.
Right? The one on the right.
Yeah, Romans copy the Grecian
right.
And put it into their same, they carry on the same thing. The dress code, everything.
Exactly. So therefore, we see right here it says originally of 330 to 320 BC Vatican Museum. So they have it right now in the Vatican Museum. When you look to the right, you have Zeus, the sky and weather, king of gods, Greek gods. So these are all Greek arts, right? That's what we have right here during the Hellenistic period. And today you find these sculpture and so forth in movie, and you're like, wow, when you see them places and you don't even know where they're coming from. You see them in parks, you see them at certain sightseeing, but you don't understand what is going on.
Yeah.
Here we go. Isn't this Jesus? Here we have a picture of Jesus, according to them. Right? But let's go to Wisdom of Solomon 14, verses 15, and see what happened. Oh, they even who we call Jesus today, they have a sculpture of Jesus. During the time of the Grecian, they actually, came up with their own sculpture of how Christ looked.
Wisdom of Solomon.
Yes, Wisdom of Solomon.
And verse 15.
Uh-huh.
For a father afflicted with untimely mourning.
Uh-huh.
When
so
he had
who is
made
this father? Who is this father that is being afflicted with untimely mourning? We're speaking about Rodrigo, right? And Caesar Borgia, right? Let me go. Let me follow you. 14 verses 15. Read that. So Caesar Borgia, Rodrigo Borgia. Read.
For a father afflicted with untimely mourning, when he had made an image of his child soon taken away.
So his child sick unto death. Read.
Now honored him as a god.
They honor him as a god. So who we are looking right here is Caesar Borgia. Right? Honor him as a god. This is what most Christian, or this is who most Christian worship today. Read.
Which was then a dead man.
Which was then a dead man. Read.
And delivered to those that were under him ceremonies and sacrifices.
Right. So ceremony and sacrifices was carried out unto this man. Right? Read.
Verse 16. Thus in the process of time, an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as a law.
Because people now start to bow down to this man. Now believe that they can atone through this man. Majority of your Christian brothers and sisters, right, have this image in their mind. Read.
And graven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings.
This is a graven image. It was worshipped by king. Read.
Whom men could not honor in presence because
right,
they
so those who was far off could not honor in presence, right? I won't say far off, we're talking about even us today. All the way up to our time. Read.
They took the counterfeit of his visage from far.
So they took the counterfeit of his face, right? And did what?
And made an express image of a king whom they honored.
So they basically carve an image or draw an image. Read.
To the end that by this their forwardness,
so their wickedness might be what?
They might flatter him that was absent as if
so the people present. Today who follow this image or worship this image of God, they are being flattered. They wasn't there when it was created. But all of a sudden now, oh, this is Christ. Right? A nice guy. That's how they view Christ. Okay, long hair, pale skin. Right? And most of our people today is flattered by this image. This is the image that we see in most Christian church, right? Up on their wall, up on crosses in majority of the Christian church. So they can say, oh, we're not worshiping. Then why is it there? Why do you come and say, kneel at the feet of the cross? Read.
Verse 18. Also, the singular diligence of the artificer did help to set forward the ignorant to more superstition.
Exactly, because the people who actually get the contract, right, to carve this sculpture or draw it, they did such a good job on it that people, that they what? Read it again.
Also, the singular diligence of the artificer did help to set forward the ignorant to more superstition.
Exactly, because they did such a good job. The diligence, they carefully detail this image. Okay, read.
For he, peradventure, willing to please one in authority.
So he was willing to please the king. So they make sure, right, that they did the job so good. Read.
forced all his skill to make the resemblance of the best fashion.
Of the best fashion. So it wasn't like they did one job, they did many jobs. Right? So the king could have actually choose the one that was fitting. So even this very image right here, this is art. It came out in the Hellenistic period. Hence our people is being Hellenized. This is the image that our people have in their mind. This is the image that a lot of Israelites today and non-Israelites have in their mind as to how Christ looked. Right? Get Isaiah 53. And get you say there was no comeliness nor beauty.
Isaiah
53.
53 and verse 2. For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant and a root out of a dry ground.
Right. So when you look at this nice guy they have right here, when compared to how Christ grew up, this dude look like a root out of a dry ground. This dude look like he's going through any struggle. Didn't Nathaniel said, can there any good thing come out of Nazareth?
Mm-hmm.
This dude look like he came out of any struggle. This is a Hellenized image. It came about in the Hellenistic period. Read.
And as a root out of a dry ground, he had no form nor comeliness.
Christ didn't have the best shape. Look at this guy with the cleft chin. Isn't this what all the female nowadays looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Nice blue eye, long nose and all of that. Long curly hair. Isn't this what they're looking for, yo, Allah?
It would seem so. They even want to hear that he has on his head right now.
Exactly.
To look what? To look beautiful according to them.
Read on.
He had no form nor comeliness.
The Bible
And-
said he had no form nor comeliness. He wasn't beautiful according to how we view beauty. Read.
And when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him.
Exactly. When we see him, there's no beauty that we desire, that we want.
Mm-hmm.
He's not that kind of person. But look at this nice guy right here. Oh my God. Moving on. Hold on, let me go back right here. Okay. Jump down to 20 and read to 22.
And so the multitude, allured by the grace of the work, took him now for a god.
They took him now for a what?
For a god.
They took this man for a god.
Which a little before was but honored as a man. And
It's
this
just-
was mm-hmm.
It was just a man. Now he's a god. Read.
Verse 21. And this was an occasion to deceive the whole world.
And this was an opportunity, a reason to deceive the world. You've been deceived if you have this man as Christ. This image came about during the Hellenistic period, family. Read on.
And this was an occasion to deceive the world, for men serving either calamity or tyranny did ascribe unto stones and stocks the incommunicable name.
And it says, right? And this was an occasion to deceive the world, for men serving either calamity, pain, or tyranny. They forcefully push this image.
Mm-hmm.
They forcefully push this image through bloodshed. Read.
Did ascribe unto stones and stocks the incommunicable name.
So now they are looking at God, right? The uncorruptible God. You ascribe this image and name, right, to the Most High. That's error. That's wrong. Read.
Verse 22, moreover, this was not enough for them that they erred in the knowledge of God, but whereas they lived in the great war of ignorance, though so great plagues called a peace.
Though so great plague, they call peace. Check that out. Though so great plague, they call peace. And we are experiencing this today. You can't tell them right now there's a church that I know of. It's written on the wall, hands stretched out, white hands, pale skin, with nail mark in it. It's codified on the wall. But anyway, let's go. All right. Let me go back right here. So we mentioned mathematics, right? When you see stuff like this, do you know where it come from? Do you know where these kind of maths came from? How to work out things? They came about during the Hellenistic period. Right? This is where it came from. This what's that name? It's right here. You see this radio all right here?
What's a Pythagorean?
Yeah, Pythagorean.
Pythagorean theorem.
Exactly. Today in school, right? When you reach this level, is that the highest level of maths, right? This is what they push. This is what is being pushed. And people go to school and say, oh, do you understand the Pythagorean theory?
In school today, them call it the actual Greek word. It would be Pythagoras theorem.
And a lot of persons don't even know. Say, okay, it came about during the Hellenistic period. The Thales intercept theorem states that where do you think we get E, D, and all of this in maths? Where do you think we get them from?
Greek letters, man. Come on, the Greek.
It says right here, the ancient Greek numeral system known as the Attic of herodianic numbers was fully developed by about 450 BCE, before Christ exists, and in regular use possibly as early as the 7th century BCE. We would have believed that, okay, today when we see these things, oh, you know, it basically came about yesterday. No. No. A lot of us, we are 50, 60 today, and we believe, okay, you know, it was during our time, you know, people go to university and came up with these things. No. You're still living, right, the life of the Grecian Empire. You're still living under the Hellenistic period. Let me go right here and show you. It says right here, Hellenistic and Greco-Roman, 3rd century BC and onward. I said the onward mean until Christ come. You're still living under these things. the art, the literature, the theater, the architecture, the music, mathematics, philosophy, translation, effort. We're still experiencing these things. So when we see maths like these and we believe, okay, it came about yesterday. It says, and in regular use, possibly as early as the 7th century BCE, before Christ exists. If we never sit down and start to read and analyze certain things, we wouldn't even understand.
Yeah, man, we're bombarded in schools with a lot of philosophy. This is why a lot of people that been in school most of them life, the Bible is for a lot of them, they can't comprehend Bible because a lot of what them learn, how they learn to think about life, it's rooted in the philosophies of these Greeks, and so the Bible to them and what the Bible is saying is it contradicts them thought process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see, the thing is this, when we look at Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Grecian Empire, and the Roman Empire that we will go into, right, a couple weeks from now, they all have to do with Satan ruling over them. Now, if Satan is ruling over them, right, because we are not in the Grecian Empire now, will you say that the philosophy of the Grecian is being destroyed or no longer in use or effect? No. It's the same old tactics.
Yep.
So let's just take a look at philosophy. Philosophy of the Greeks, right? So I grabbed the definition of philosophy from the Oxford Language Dictionary. 1, the study of fundamentals, nature of knowledge, reality, and existence, especially when considered as an academic discipline. 2, the theory or attitude that acts as a guide, as a guiding principle for behavior. Now, when we talk about, yeah, say something?
No, I said, there you go.
Exactly. It says
Thought process.
fundamental. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, so the thought process, see there, that is it.
Exactly. When you talk about fundamentals, you're talking about basic, right? When you deal with reality, you're dealing with what is true or real. That's why you have real in reality. When you talk about existence, right? You go all the way back to the Most High. When it comes to existence, what exists? Especially when considered as an academic discipline, So pay attention, keep that in mind, keep the definition in mind as you look at philosophy. Now what we have right here, we have the school of philosophers. There's a school called the School of Epicureans. During the time of the Grecian Empire, I think there was 4 schools, right, of philosophers or philosophy. But we have mentioned what the Bible speaks about. We have what you call the Epicureans. So you have the school of Epicureanism, right? An ancient school of philosophy founded in where? Athens. That's in Greece. By Epicurus. Now this statue we have right here, this is a statue of Epicurus. So he founded the school of the Epicureans. I have the teaching of Epicureanism. The school rejected determinism, right? And advocated hedonism. Now, when you hear about hedonism, what are we actually dealing with? What are we dealing with? There's a hotel down here called Hedonism too. What type of lifestyle do they promote?
Mm-hmm.
It says right here, pleasure as the highest good. When hedonism advertise their hotel, what are they presenting? Pleasure. They give pleasure, sex, debauchery, all kind of stuff. But of a restrained kind, mental pleasure was regarded more highly than physical. Check that out. And the ultimate pleasure was held to be freedom from anxiety and mental pain, especially that arising from needless fear of death and of gods. Did you hear that?
But really, what I'm trying to say is that you really have your own should shape your own reality. Them really have said that to you, but them not say it out like that, because I mean it says there needless fear of death and of the gods. Is death a reality? Of course. Not saying
and this part basically sum it up, especially that arising from needless fear of death and of the gods.
Mm-hmm.
They basically tell you. So when you talk about determinism and advocated hedonism, they're more telling you, listen, you should just gear your life towards pleasure.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Mental pleasure was regarded more highly than physical. Just go out and live your life. Don't worry about, death, right? And punishment that come from the Most High. Don't worry about those things.
Exactly.
Now, when Paul come on the scene and Paul was going about teaching, Paul encountered a lot of opposition from the Epicureans. We'll get that in scripture also. Let's move on. Another school we have, right, was the school of Stoicism. Right? Stoicism is one of the four major schools you hear them just mention, right? These are not my words. A lot of this information we basically get them from Britannica. Is one of the four major schools of thought established in the Hellenistic period. It's here. These are not my word. You notice you have the word hell. Helen. Helen. Hellenistic. What do you think the word Helen mean? Strange cultures, what we read in the book of Maccabees, was actually placed upon the nation of Israel. Hence, it's called the Hellenistic period. You go and push things upon people, right? That is not their culture. Especially upon the people of God, the nation of Israel. You basically Hellenize them. Doctrine that leads to hell.
Mm-hmm.
It was founded in the ancient Agora of Athens by Zeno of Citium around 300 BC. The Stoics believe that the practice of virtue, righteousness, is enough to achieve eudaimonia. We're going to look into this word, eudaimonia. And well live, flourishing life. The Stoics identified the path to achieving it with a life spent practicing certain virtue in everyday life, such as courage or temperance, and living in accordance with nature. We're going to look at this word very soon. Let me move on from here. Oh, before we move on, let me get this word right. We're going to get this word right here. I'll share my screen with you. Give me a minute right here. I'm going to show you something right here. Let me share my screen right here. Okay, so I'm going to show you something right here. You see the screen right there, right?
Go on.
All right. So it says eudaimonia, also spelled eudaimonia, in Aristotelian ethics. So it basically coming from Aristotle. Full article. Let me go to the full article. Hold on, this screen is loading. Oh man. I'm just gonna have to touch on a little piece of it. It says, in Aristotelian ethics, the condition of human flourishing or of living well. The conventional English translation of the ancient Greek term happiness is unfortunate because of eudaimonia, as Aristotle and most other ancient philosophers understood it does not consist of a state of mind or a feeling of pleasure or contentment as happiness. So it's the word for happiness. Let me go back right here. So what they're basically showing us right here, the Stoic identified the path to achieving it with a life spent practicing certain virtue in everyday life, such as courage and temperance, and living in accordance with nature. So it was more so like praising nature opposed to the Most High. It's way more deeper than that. Get Acts 17 verses 16 to 21.
Acts 17 and verse 16. Now, while Paul waited for them at Athens.
At where?
At Athens.
Pause right there. Let me go right back here. It says right here, Stoicism is one of the four major schools of thought established in the Hellenistic period. It was founded in the ancient agora of where? Athens. Athens. Read that again, Ak.
Now, while Paul waited for them at Athens, his
Go on.
spirit was stirred in him when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry.
Because you have school of the Stoics and you have the Epicureans. There were 2 out of the 4 major schools in those areas that was actually pushing philosophy contrary to the Bible, right? So this is Stoic and this is Epicurus right here. Okay, go on.
Verse 17, therefore disputed he in the synagogue with the Jews.
So he was reasoning with Israelites. Go on.
And with devout persons.
So these devout persons right here are not Israelites. They are actually Greek, but they were devoted to the work. Read.
And in the market daily with them that met with him.
Go on.
Then certain philosophers of the Epicureans.
So the Epicureans, right? The founder of the Epicureans, this is he right here. Okay, Epicurus. That's why it's named after him, the Epicurean. Epicurean, the teachings of the Epicurean, teachings of Epicureanism. Go on.
And of the Stoics.
Right, which is, this is he right here, Stoic. So his teachings was called Stoicism. Go on.
Encountered him, and
so you see said, the Bible is not a fairy tale. Paul have to deal with person who came from that school of thought. It says they encountered him. Read.
And some said, what will this babbler say?
Okay, what will this babbler say? What they are basically saying, Paul didn't have no information. He was picking up information all over the place. Because during this time, right, these men would have known as the educated person of those times. Read.
He seemed to be a setter forth of strange gods.
Because guess what happened? They have their own gods. Mars, right? Strange. So once Paul brings forth the Most High God, he seems to be a setter forth of strange God. He's bringing strange gods to us. That's what they are saying. Read.
Because he preached unto them Christ and the resurrection.
Exactly. So they have a problem with that. Read.
And they took him and brought him unto Areopagus, saying...
All right. Stop right there. We want to look at this word, Areopagus. Let me go right here and show you something. Watch this. So we have Areopagus right there on the screen. I'm going to show you something, right? It's a conqueror of ancient Athens. The name was taken from Areopagus, Ares Hill, a low hill northwest of the Areopolis or Acropolis, which was its meeting place, right? The Areopagites council probably began as the king's advisor early in the Archaic period. It exercised a general and ill-defined authority until the publication of Draco Code of Law. Right? So it was basically a hill that them actually go to. Right? There's another piece that I want to actually bring, but it's not here. All right, let me see. Okay. Membership continue for life and was secure by having served as archon, an office limit to the Euopatrid Greek, noble by birth. Let me go back right here. Okay, read that in the Bible you have right here.
Verse 19, and they took him and brought him unto Areopagus, saying,
Areopagus, 1 minute, stop right there again. I'll show you something. Let me see what it is. I'm gonna go right back here. I want to get the definition of Aries just to show you something. Okay. All right, watch this that I'm sharing on the screen right now. So we have Aries on the screen right now, right? Can you see it up?
yeah, man, I can see it.
All right, read it if you can.
The etymology of the name Aries is traditionally connected with the Greek word Are.
Aries.
Hold on,
The etymology of the name Aries.
let me expand my screen. Hold on. The Greek word Are, the Ionic form of the Doric Apa, Ara, bane, ruin, curse, imprecation. Walter Burkert notes that Ares is apparently an ancient abstract noun meaning throng of battle, war.
Exactly. So he's the god of war. As you can see him right here. Aries is the god of war, right? Bane, ruin, curse, imprecation. Yeah, get back to the reading.
And they
The
took
Bible.
him and brought him unto Areopagus, saying,
Right? So they basically took him, right, to where you actually call the god of war, ruin. Read.
may we know what this new doctrine whereof thou speakest is.
When you go to the Bible, right? Let me go to the Bible. I'm going to show you something right here. Go to the Bible and show you something. Areopagus. So it was basically up on a you're seeing the blue letter on the screen right here, right?
Yeah.
All right. So what we are seeing right here, this is the Greek.
Strong's G 697. Areas pagas. Areas pagas.
All right. So the definition of Areopagus, martial peak, a rocky height in the city of Athens, opposite the western end of the Acropolis towards the west. It reads, this hill belonged to Ares, Mars, and was called Mars Hill, so called because the story went, as the story went, Mars having slain Hilaire-Photius, son of Neptune, for the attempted violation of his daughter, Elisippe, was tried for the murder here before 12 gods as judges. This place was location where the judges convened who, by appointment of Salon, had jurisdiction of capital offenses as willful murder, arson, poisoning, malicious wounding, and breach of established religious usage. The court itself was called Areopagos, from the place where it sat, also Arium, Judicum, and Curia. To that hill, Apostle Paul was not led to defend himself before judges, but that he might set forth his opinions on divine subject to a greater multitude of people, flocking together there and eager to hear something new. So that's what it means. So they basically, because in Greek mythology, right, this was a place where they actually tried certain matters. They actually want Paul to actually go to that hill so he can defend his case when it comes to Christ. Read that again.
And they took him and brought him unto Areopagus, saying,
So
may
it
we
was a
know.
hill that they actually took him to, right? They want to hear what he have to say, so you have to go to this, because in Greek mythology, this was a place that they actually tried certain cases. To show you the level of madness that was actually going on there. Because in Greek mythology, this is how they actually do it. So Paul was actually taken there, right, to speak about Christ, to hear the matters. Go on.
Whereof thou speakest is, for thou bringest certain strange things to our ears. We would know therefore what these things mean. For all the Athenians and strangers which were there spent their time in nothing else, but either tell or to hear some new thing.
Exactly. Get Colossians 2, 6 to 10.
Colossians chapter 2 and verse 6. As ye have therefore received Christ the Lord, so walk ye in him, rooted and built up in him, and established in the faith, as ye have been taught, abounding therein with thanksgiving. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ.
Right. So I want to present something right here. Let me present this. Let me put this right here, because we see that's Colossians right there, right? So right here, we want to get the location of Colossian or Colossia. So it says Colossia, Greek, was an ancient city of Pergia in Asia Minor, and one of the most celebrated cities of the southern Anatolia, modern day Turkey. Right? So when Paul was actually going to Colossia, right, to set up churches and preach the gospel, it was in Asia Minor, right? And those era at that time was under Greek influence, right? It was controlled by the Grecians. Rome took parts of those places after. Watch this. Read that again. Get it back from 6.
As ye have therefore received Christ the Lord, so walk ye in him, rooted and built up in him, and established in the faith, as ye have been taught, abounding therein with thanksgiving.
Right. So Paul says in verse 6, as you have therefore received Christ, so walk in him. Because philosophy was high in those areas. So Paul is saying, listen, the manner in which I present Christ to you, the teachings that I give you on Christ, right? Follow that. Read.
Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit.
Philosophy was in those areas. It was very intense, right? Deception was there. Read.
After the tradition of men.
After the tradition of men represents, right? Pay attention. You have certain school of thought there, such as the Stoics and the Epicureans. Here they are. So Paul is saying after the tradition of men, because you have a lot of Greek philosophers in those areas. Read.
And not after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ.
The rudiments represents the principle of the world and not after Christ. Read.
For in him dwelleth all the fullness of the Godhead bodily.
And not in Aries, right? And these strange gods, Zeus and all of them. Read.
And ye are complete in him which is the head of all principality and power.
Exactly. Get 1 Corinthians 1, verses 18 to 23.
First Corinthians 1, verse 18. For preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness.
Right, because the preaching of the cross in those areas, right, that were under Greek influence, there are certain schools that was actually set up there to promote ideology of men. Paul is saying it is foolishness to them, right? They can't understand it because they have Greek gods like Zeus, Ares, Apollo, right? These are the gods that they follow in those areas. Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Neptunes. Read.
But unto us which are saved, it is the power of God.
Read.
For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent.
Because guys like Epicurus, right, Stoics, they were the prudent teachers, right, before Christ come on the scene, before Paul come on the scene. So those schools, those were the university that exists all the way up to the Roman Empire. They were destroyed, they were still there operating. So they were considered as the wise men. Just like today, you'd hear a person speak about Marcus Garvey, right? The Rastafarians speak about Selassie. It was the same thing that was going on. Read.
Verse 20, where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Has not God made the foolish, the wisdom of this world?
Exactly, because the school of the Epicureans, the school of the Stoics, is foolishness. Go on.
For after that in the wisdom of God, the world by wisdom knew not God. It pleased God by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe.
Exactly, read.
For the Jews require a sign, and
right?
the Greeks,
And this is why when Paul, let me go back right here. When Paul, right, went in to speak to the Jews in their synagogue, right? Verse 17, Acts 17, verse 17, therefore disputed he in the synagogue with the Jews, right? Because the Jews actually seek a sign. But what happened? The Greeks did what?
For the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks seek after wisdom.
They were actually in the school of Stoic and the Epicurean. That's their wisdom. Read on.
Verse 23. But we preach Christ crucified unto the Jews a stumbling block, and unto the Greeks foolishness.
Exactly. All right, so let me bring you back to something that I want to show you. We mentioned a lot of stuff right here. Let me go right here. Right here. We mentioned the School of Arts, Literature, the theater, architecture, music, mathematics, philosophy, translation effort. So let's take a look at the translation effort right here. Translation effort such as the Septuagint. It basically happened under the Grecian, right? You have the Septuagint right here, the LXX, right? It said the Septuagint, abbreviation LXX. The earliest extant Greek translation of the Old Testament from the original Hebrew. The Septuagint was presumably made for the Jewish community in Egypt when Greek was the common language throughout the region. Analysis of the language has established that the Torah are Pentateuch. So the Torah represents the first 5 books of the Bible. The Greeks now call it Pentateuch. The first 5 books of the Old Testament was translated near the middle of the 3rd century BCE, before Christ exists. So way before Christ even come on the scene, the Greeks translate the Torah, right? Known today as the Septuagint. And that the rest of the Old Testament was translated in the 2nd century BCE. So before Christ even come on the scene, right? They translated from Genesis, right? All the way down. Etymology. Hold on, let me go. So when you look at the etymology of the term Septuagint, is derived from the Latin phrase Vitus Testamentus ex versione, Septuaginta interpretum, the Old Testament from the version of the 70 translator. So the word LXX, the abbreviation, means 70. Right? That's where it came from. This phrase, in turn, was derived from the ancient Greek, Romanized. He, metaphoresis ton heban, I can't pronounce this. The translation of the 70. It was not until the time of Augustus of Hippo. So who is Augustus right here of Hippo? When we actually start the lesson, we mention from the time that the Greeks come on the scene, the death of Alexandra, all the way up to Augustus is actually called the Hellenistic period. that the Greek translate the Jewish scripture was called by the Latin term Septuaginta, right? So the Greeks of actually call it the Pentateuch, but when the Roman come on the scene, they call it the Septuaginta from the Latin. The Roman numeral LXX just mean 70, is commonly used as an abbreviation. In addition to, that's what it means, RG. So even the Bible, the Greeks have their hands, right? They have their own interpretation of it called the Pentateuch. When the Roman come on the scene, they call it the Septuagint, which is Latin. So LXX stands for what? 70. So even upon God's word, them try to place them hand. Right? When you go into the Septuagint and you look at Christ's name, let me go here and show you something. I'll show you something. Share my screen right here with you. Okay, right here. Let's go. So when you look at Christ's name, right? According to the Greeks, this is how we pronounce.
Strong's G 2424. Jesus. Jesus.
Jesus. Let me play that again.
Strong's G 2424. Jesus. Jesus.
Jesus. So when it says right here, root word, etymology of Hebrew origin, right? Let me touch this. It go all the way back to the Hebrew word.
Strong's H 3091. Yehoshua. Yehoshua.
Yehoshua.
And second entry, Yehoshua. Yehoshua.
So the Greeks have their own understanding of how they actually call Christ, which is, it's right here. Let me play it again.
Strong's G 2424. Jesus. Jesus.
So throughout history, every empire come, right, put their spin as to how they see God's word. We will explain a lot of things when we get down to the Roman Empire. It will all make sense when we get down to the Roman Empire. All right. When you talk, all right, pay attention to this. Games, right? We see right here the sign of the Olympic. A lot of people see Olympic keeping today. Do they really know where it came from? It says the ancient Olympic Games, ancient Greek, Latin Olympia, neuter plural, the Olympics, were a series of athletic competitions among representatives of the city-states and were of one of the Pan-Hellenic Games. Pan-Hellenic Games. Pan-Hellenic Games. Right? Pan-Hellenic Games of ancient Greek. So when you speak about Pan-Hellenic Games, let's go right here and take a look. find this. In a minute. Pan-Hellenic games. Pay attention right here. So when you look at the word, are you seeing this, Allah?
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Okay, can you read it?
Pan-Hellenic of or representing all people of Greek origin or ancestry.
Read the bottom part.
Relating to advocating or denoting the idea of a political union of all Greeks.
Exactly. So Pan-Hellenic. Let's go right back here now. Game of ancient Greek. They were held at the Pan-Hellenic religious sanctuary of Olympia in honor of Zeus. So the Olympic game today, right? It says they were held at the Pan-Hellenic religious sanctuary of Olympia in honor of Zeus. So this game was actually showing respect to Zeus. And the Greeks gave them a mythological origin. The originating Olympic Games are traditionally dated to 776 BC, before Christ. So this game go way back before even Christ exists. The games were held every four what? Every 4 what? Years. The same thing we see today. So when Shelly and all of them are run, right, in no clothes and all of that, and believe, say, okay, we are doing something good and all of that, you don't even know what you're doing. Bolt, the whole of them. I think the next Olympic, they say Bolt will be the one who will be carrying the torch. Do you know what that torch represents? Check this out. The games are held every 4 years. Our Olympiad, which became a union of time in historical chronologies. They continue to be celebrated when Greece came under Roman rule. So when the Roman came to power, they didn't throw it away. They basically just add to it. That's why you hear them says, pardon me?
And as you mentioned, the torch, what the torch represents, part of it is the fire that never go out on the altar. This is why they went and put the torch up on an altar. Basically, them a mock God. Fire that never go out. I say them have their own fire and so forth.
Exactly. Move. Check this out. In the 2nd century BC, their last recorded celebration was in AD 393. So the word AD now, right, just mean the year of our Lord. Under Emperor T.V.O.I. I. But archaeologists' evidence indicates that some games were still held after this date. What are they really saying? When we have Olympics today, what are they really saying? The games likely came to an end under T.V.O.I. II, possibly in connection with a fire that burned down the temple of the Olympian Zeus during his reign. So when Mavi just mentioned the torch go on, They are still carrying the torch today. This is why when the Olympic Games kept, someone must run with it and put it up on the altar. A lot of us today, we don't know what is going on. So we mentioned the Apocrypha right here, right? In a lesson that I did, I mentioned the Apocrypha and I mention it now. In order for us to understand what is truly going on, right? We must have this book in our possession just to understand how deep certain things run. You would have heard us pulling verses from the Apocrypha. If you don't understand what is the Apocrypha, right, or you never heard of it, then you don't have a complete Bible. The biblical Apocrypha from ancient Greek, apokros, means hidden. So what they basically do was remove the Apocrypha from the scripture and hide it. Denotes the collection of apocryphal ancient books thought to have been written sometime between 200 BC and AD 400. The Roman Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, and Oriental Orthodox churches include some or all of the same text within the body of their version. Check that out. So if you go to the T.V.O.I version, they have it right there. It says the Roman Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, and Oriental Orthodox churches included some or all of the same text within the body of their version of the Old Testament. So they know you having 66, you do not have a complete Bible because you cannot properly break down the Grecian Empire if you don't have it. You cannot do it. Right? You cannot do it. With Roman Catholics, terming them deuterocanonical books. Right? What does deuter mean? To repeat. Traditionally, 80 books. Protestant Bibles include 14 books in an intertestamental section between the Old Testament and New Testament called the Apocrypha. Now, if this is saying traditionally 80 books, Protestant Bible include 14 books, why during the time of Martin Luther, the Reformer, they removed the book? Because history proved that Martin Luther, the Reformer, the one who nailed the 95 theses in Wittenberg, Germany, upon the door, right? That's where the Protestant actually spring from, according to them. Why do we do, and our Protestant is using the Bible today? Why the Protestant don't know? Why do the Protestants of today, right, who subscribe to the Bible, don't have a clue and they call themselves Protestant? Why they don't have a clue? Why they don't have a clue? That's the question we're asking. You can get Xander Van Ack and read, find Bible, go to Bible and find King James under the Bible and read that. You have it close by?
Give me 2 seconds. Give me a second.
If not, I can read it, you know.
All right, go ahead.
All right, let me find it. Okay. So when you talk about Bible, I'm going to show you something, right? There's so many Bible we can actually go to. We have the Compass and Division Bible, right? You have what you call William Tyndale. You have John Wycliffe. You have Bible English version, right? You have the Miles Coverdale. You have the Thomas Matthew, the Great Bible, the Geneva Bible, the Bishop's Bible, right? You have King James, and that is just a few. Me just I'll list some of them. And all of these Bibles that you actually speak about include the Apocrypha in it. So when you look at the King James Bible, it says in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, when Elizabeth died in 1603, the crown passed to James I, who had been King of Scotland for 37 years. As James VI, several months after he ascended the throne of England, he authorized a new translation of the Bible to replace the Bishop's Bible. 47 of the best Hebrew and Greek scholars of the day were divided into 6 groups. 3 for the OT, which means the Old Testament, 2 for the New, which is the New Testament, and 1 for the Apocrypha. Two of the groups met at Oxford, right? 2 at Cambridge and 2 at Westminster. When a group had completed its task, its work was submitted to 12 men. So we see clearly that the Apocrypha was a part of it. Right? We see clearly. So we have to deal with this book. If you want to understand what really took place, we can go to the Bible and we can break down. We can go to the 66. We can break down Egypt. We can break down Assyria. We can break down Babylon and Nebuchadnezzar. We can break down the Medo-Persian Empire. But once we get to the Grecian Empire, we can't break it down using the 66. We can also break down Rome under the 66. So why can't we break down the Grecian Empire properly under the 66? Because they have removed 14 extra books, which is what we call the Apocrypha today. Okay? All right, let's read this. It says, Testament called the Apocrypha, deeming these useful for instruction. So the Protestants say, okay, these books, we consider them good for instruction, but non-canonical. But they are not good enough to be placed in the 66. That's what they mean, non-canonical. Who gave you the right to do that? To this date, the Apocrypha are included in the lectionaries of Anglican and Lutheran churches. So the Lutheran and the Anglican have them. The Anabaptist use the Luther Bible, which contains the Apocrypha as intertestamental books. Amish wedding ceremony include the retelling of the marriage of Tobias and Sarah in the Apocrypha. So the Amish community, right, wedding ceremonies include the retelling of the marriage of Tobias. I want you to check that out. How many Christians know about the marriage of Tobias and Sarah in the Apocrypha? Moreover, the Revised Common Lectionary in use by most mainland Protestants, including Methodists and Moravians, list readings from the Apocrypha in the liturgical calendar, although alternate Old Testament scripture lessons are provided. So they know these things, people. They know these things. They have all of these information. Right? Is there a community today that is more unique, right? Have defense information especially black people outside of the Amish community, right? You can't just run in on the Amish community like that. So they are using our record to build their empire. But we don't understand our record, so we have a serious problem. Right? We have a serious problem. Right? We have a serious problem. When you go to Leviticus 23, there is something called the Feast of Dedication. In the Apocrypha, it's not in Leviticus 23. But when we go to the New Testament, Christ went to the Feast of Dedication. That's something for you to keep in mind for the next part of the Grecian Empire. With that, that's the lesson right here for part 1 of the Grecian Empire. We have part 2 coming up next week. Anything you want to add, family?
No, that's it. That's it.
Okay. All right. Anything you want to add, Allah?
No, man, I'm good. I'm good.
All right. So we close out here. And we leave out like this.
Yeah, in times. At the end of the day, for real, for real. If you a man of the Most High specifically, guard your light, guard your family, protect your peace. I feel like it's that season, yeah. Till your ground and put your seeds in. They say rock, what's the word? I told them repent. Gotta walk in them shoes you put your feet in. The bed that you make, you gotta sleep in. Sowing and reaping, judgment, it's that season. I don't get mad and I don't get even. Abba got him, say shalom when you see me. I'm protecting my peace. It ain't my business what they said about me. They forgot to mention the part when I fell to my knees. Please, Abba, keep your angels wherever I be. Pray you keep a couple of them by the bed when I sleep. Bonded, casting out every devil I see. Last days, I ain't playing no kind of games. I got children. Look, no matter what they say, we gon' still win. Let them gossip, we gon' still win. Turn everybody against us, we gon' still win. Keep building like real men. Imagine all the souls we gon' reel in. And we put scriptures over feelings. Yeah. Had to do a pause for that. I feel like it's that season. Yeah. Till your ground and put your seeds in. If we can't correct each other, we can't be friends. I can't sit back and watch you go off the deep end. Sky is the limit, you got no ceiling. We gon' take it through the firmament. You got baptized, them demons was on your head when they got word of it. When you get wings, it's gonna be turbulence. Temptation intensified, it's expected. We at the end of time, they don't wanna see you score. They want you penalized, want you out the game, see you ride the bench. When it's crunch time, it ain't hard to see who the father with. This season, we not man pleasing. Practice what you preaching, don't pretend. For real, we gotta give them the facts. Look, that sound good, but what scripture was that? Paganism in our worship, hidden in the details. Saturnalia, Abba gave me eyes, I can see well. We stiff neck, we don't want correction, we shun correction. On the narrow path is only one direction. Yeah, we stiff neck, we don't want correction, we shun correction. Yeah, it's only one direction. It's that season.